French superstar Catherine Deneuve is her country's cultural icon, having been in over 80 films. Her elegance, intelligence, and beauty have left audiences speechless. In 1992, she received an Oscar nomination for the acclaimed drama Indochine, and is on the screen again in the re-release of Louis Buñuel's 1967 erotic classic Belle de Jour. We're very pleased to have her here for a conversation about a career and about France. Welcome. Great to have you here.
Hello.
Tell me about the re-release of this. I mean, how did it come about that this film, which many of us did not see in 1967, and now look forward to the first time to have a chance to see it?
Well, it was quite simple as far as I'm concerned, you know. I suppose for the producers it took a lot of time, you know, to get the rights to get Belle de Jour back, because it's a film that hasn't been shown here for over 25 years. But I think that Miramax plus Scorsese were very strong about trying to get it, and so they decided to re-release the film. It's like a revival. I was very surprised, but I was very pleased, because it's really, I think, a very important film, and a very special film also for me.
Why?
Because it was my first encounter with Buñuel, who I admire, you know, very much. And the film has been very important to me in a way that since, I mean, Belle de Jour is over 25 years now, but even today, when I meet people from the press, especially in America, Belle de Jour is always mentioned, you know, the part of Séverine, the girl I'm playing in the film. It's still today very attached to me. And I think it's quite interesting to see, because it's about phantasm, you know, of a woman. And I think
the fantasy of a woman, yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. 25 years later, still, you know, some people could get attached to your own image, you know, so close to a character in a film.
Yeah, they, in a sense, they identified you in terms of this film and this character as a shaping influence because you were a young actress at the time.
Not only because I was a young actress, I think, but because the part is quite mysterious and people see me more as a sort of very private person, and it's easier, I suppose, to imagine that I have a sort of double life than some other people. And so it's interesting to see how much the imagination, you know, when it's left to the people to work on their own imagination, can work very well.
Tell me about the character. Why is she not satisfied? What is her frustration? What?
I think it's shown actually at the beginning of the film in a very short footage of at the beginning.
On the carriage?
Yes, you see her, she's being evidently molested, you know, not to the words, but she's being molested by a man. And so you understand that this woman has got a problem on her own, you know, which is like being frigid, I would say, but I think a woman can be frigid with a man and not with another one. That things that happen too, and that's her problem. So she's frustrated, you know, she's frustrated, and she feels very guilty, you know, to be able to answer to her husband love as well.
Martin Scorsese had something to do with this. Does he remind you of any director because of his sheer love of cinema that you have known?
Very much so. Because very recently, again, I saw something he did on that was shown on television, that he did for the 100 years, you know, of cinema.
Shown on French television.
French television, and he had made an incredible film of 1 hour, you know, about his favorite American film, and speaking over with his voice, explaining why this and that, and the scenes and the motivations, you know, for the scene. It was incredible. I saw it twice already, and he was so powerful and so convincing and so interesting, you know, because he was a teacher, so he knows how to speak about film. And he reminded me very much of François Truffaut.
Yes. We've had on this broadcast, he's been here for 2 programs, long programs, 1 hour conversation, another remembering Fellini.
And he can say so much in one program because he speaks so much.
Exactly. Yeah. And women who have been with him, Dawn Steele, the executive, and others, will tell you that he's obsessive about film, and he makes them just watch movies every night, or wants them to watch movies, doesn't make them, just to share that passion he feels. You know, and almost want to be, you almost want to teach about films, the great love he has for it. You know. Have directors influenced you a lot? I mean, when I think about Demi, when I think about Buñuel, when I think about Truffaut, when you think about...
Absolutely, because I met them when I was very young. You know, when I was with Jacques Demy and I did Umbrellas of Cherbourg, I was not even 20 years old yet. And I think it's very important for an actress to have to work with very important directors very young, because the influence they can have, and also what you learn from them. You know, if you are very interested in films, you know, about not only the part but the film themselves. You know, I've always been considering a film more than a part in a film.
Yes.
And that was I mean, I was very lucky to get, you know, influenced by people like that.
That film, Umbrella of Cherbourg, made you a star in France?
Yeah. because the film went everywhere and was a huge success. And the film is so much out of time in another way, not like Belle de Jour, which I think is out of time, but because it's a classic. But Umbrellas is a film which is completely sung, and it's such a different, you know, kind of impression when you see the film. It's like a musical. There is no dancing, but it's like very little, but it's more like a musical, and it's like a fairy tale in a way. So the film is very much out of time, and it was a very big success, yes.
And then along comes Buñuel in 1967 to make this film. What influence did he have on you?
Strangely enough, I think I got more of his influence on Tristana that I did 2 years later than Belle de Jour, because Belle de Jour was very special, and he used me, you know, the way I was, you know, the way I looked at, let's say. And
did he choose you in part because of the way you looked? Did he say?
I think it was really, you know, a film that belonged to the producers, and they had bought the rights, and they proposed it to Buñuel, and told him they wanted to do the film with me. It was really a deal, you know, made by the producers. But everybody was agreeing, me, of course. But Buñuel, you know, thought it was the right choice for that part. So it's not Buñuel that chose me. It's the Hakim brothers, you know, the producer at the time, that chose Buñuel, who accepted to do the film with me. But then we did another film, and he chose me, you know, to do Tristana 2 years later.
Where did this notion of you as glacial, as the Ice Queen, as aloof, as...
From Belle de Jour.
From Belle de Jour.
Yes, I would say so.
And does it ring true to you, or is it exactly different from the way you are at heart?
It's not completely different, because I think anyway that people are double. I can be very glacial probably, and when I'm very, you know, either very intimidated, you know, or feeling, you know, not that at ease sometimes. Some people can sort of disappear, but I can seem to be very sort of, you know, and very at my ease without showing anything. So that gives me that attitude. Maybe less today than, you know, let's say 15 years ago, but still it can happen to me. But otherwise, you know, I think it's, you know, Belle de Jour that sort of gave me that image, because the way I saw the film last night, you see, and I hadn't seen the film for maybe 20 years now. I didn't see the film again so much. And it's true that the appearance, the fact Saint Laurent was dressing me for the film, the makeup, the lighting, which is beautiful but very cold, everything, you know, goes in that direction, and that sort of balance, you know, the erotism of the film, which is in a very cold way. You know, you see things without seeing anything, but you feel all the atmosphere of the place she's going in the afternoon. I mean, it's in the light, it's not in the dark.
Yes.
But when it's in the light, you don't see what you're supposed to see.
Okay, the storyline, if any one of you have not seen this Belle de Jour, the storyline is a housewife frustrated in her relationship with her husband, frigid perhaps, and therefore she becomes a prostitute during the day, during the daytime, and it leads to a tragic conclusion for her husband, but at the same time, and she is discovered. Here is a clip. This is her ladyship. Put this in context for me, for the audience.
She's just beginning in this apartment where she works in the afternoon, you know, and she's going to go with the man, you know, that she's supposed to, who wants to try her because it's her debut and she's been there for a very short time, but he has very special thing to ask her, and she's not used to it. So he sent her away, and the madame, you know, who is running the place, take her, you know, very nervous, say, well, come and watch, and she opens something behind the other wall, you know, that you cannot see, and she's going to watch another girl, you know, treating that man the way he wants to be treated, and she's quite surprised, you know.
Roll tape. Here it is.
Venez. Il y a du monde. Alors, vous avez bien vu? Qu'est-ce que vous en dites?
Comment peut-on descendre aussi bas? Vous avez sans doute l'habitude, mais moi, ça me répugne.
How was it for you, after all these years, to see yourself last night?
I was more amused, you know, that I thought at some scenes that when I saw the film at the time, you know, some, like the humor, you know, for me of Buñuel, you know, it came out much more clearly to me in some scenes, not in that one.
The humor.
The humor, yes, the great sense of humor he had, you know, a sort of light way to say things.
Yeah. You look remarkably, to me, similar to that film. I mean, it's almost like that was yesterday. I mean,
well, that was 25 years ago.
I know it was, but you have, how do you say this? You have been, as I said, everybody, the first thing when they think of you is a sort of a symbol of French women, you know, as a symbol of France. And this sort of extraordinary, you're now, in a sense, on the, what is it, the Marianne, are you still that?
Yes,
sort of
I'm
on the
still
poster?
that. I'm still that, yeah. On the stamps, you know, I'm on the stamps, you know, for letters in France,
Yeah.
you know.
In a sense, as the symbol of France.
Yes, but I accept it because, you know, I could have done it. I accept it because to me it was the symbol of the Republic, you know.
Yes.
And it was, for us French, it was something I thought quite nice, you know.
Is there a difference in how women in Europe are appreciated as they grow older than in America? Do we somehow obsess on youth more than
I think it's a big problem too, you know, in Europe. But I think it's a little softer, you know, to grow old and as an actress and as a woman, you know, in Europe than in America. But anyway, everything is so oversized, you know, here, because when you get at the top here, it's nothing compared to going at the top in Europe, you know, it's much higher. So when it stops, you know, you fall from much higher too. And I think the competition is incredible. There is a lot of energy, a lot of excitement about things. But when it goes wrong, it must be very hard because it's very tough.
here in the United States?
In the States, yes.
Because you fall so far.
And also because, you know, in France we have much more people writing their own scripts or writing for some people. So it's easier to find characters for women because if you are involved with people making films and writing films, you know, you can get good parts, in very interesting parts. It's not the same attitude. I mean, you are not, you know, supposed to be a star, then you become a non-star because you grew, you know, after 35 or let's say even 40. I think you're allowed a little more than that in Europe, you know.
You've had an opportunity to work with great directors and to have a range of roles.
Yes, that I was very lucky because, you know, not only people say you made good choices. Yes, it's true. I agree, some good choices, but I think, you know, to get good choices, you have to get the thing being offered to you.
Did you want a Hollywood career in this classic sense of a Hollywood career?
I don't know what's a Hollywood career for European actors, you know. I suppose if I had come down here and stayed there for a while, maybe it would have been, I think if you want to work here, you have to stay there, you know. And it's not that I didn't want to, you know, it just didn't arrive, you know. When I came to work here with Jack Lemmon or Burt Reynolds, and that was quite a while. Yes. And even the hunger, you know, that was, you know, 10 years ago. But I think you have to stay there for a while, you know, be there and meet people and see people. Because, frankly, there are incredible good actors and actresses in America. Why use a European actress unless you meet her and you find something special or think of having something special, you know, for her that you would write or would want her in this part.
What seems to be nice about French films and the French film industry is there's room for smaller films. For smaller budget films, for adult films, for films, not adult in terms of eroticism, but in terms of relationships.
Yeah.
You don't see that here anymore. I mean, it's almost like it's either a very huge film,
or very
action,
underground.
adventure, rather than smaller love stories. On occasion here, but not as frequently as you see them in France.
But I think that the cost, you know, of the film in general is much higher in America, no matter what happens. So we are allowed, you know, to do, because we cannot do really big film that big, because we don't have the public and the audience to go to the movie to make the money back, I suppose, on those very big films. So on that level, French cannot have any competition, you know, with American film when they come out in Europe, and that's a big trouble for us, European productions. But in another way, I think now they are starting, you know, because a lot of very tricky and clever people, you know, are starting to think that you can make many films trying to have small budgets. Some young directors, because they have no choice, you know, people wouldn't give them the money. They don't have the stars, so they must, you know, the film with what they have. But also people realizing that there is a sort of new audience for film that would be interested in American films, but, you know, other subjects that you cannot treat, you know, on a certain budget because you are supposed to have such a wide audience. It's a very tricky game, you know, film, because if it's big, you need big audience, then some subjects you cannot treat, you know, for a big audience because it's too difficult. If you make a very difficult film, you better have to keep it quite low-key, you know, about the budget to be sure that people won't lose too much money, because you can get out of the job very quickly here.
Have you had the amount of control over your career that you wanted?
I never had a career, you know. To me, in a sense, the career is something that you can look back, you know, and say, well, that was it. But when you do choices of films, you choose films and people you want to work with, but you don't make the choice saying, is that going to be good for my career? It's something that you can say afterwards, you know. I was frankly, I was lucky enough to be offered a lot of things, and I made my own choice, sometimes also with my agent or some friends I really like, in films, asking them their opinion. But most of the time, it was to make sure, that I was doing the right choice for me, which means it's not always the right choice for the audience. I made very interesting film that didn't make it, for the audience.
Frequently in conversation with actors and actresses and even directors, you find that the film that they prefer is not necessarily the most successful and the film that the audience prefers. Is that true with you?
It's true with everyone,
Yeah.
I think,
What's your...
It's a question of, if you think that you are going to talk to 100 people and you have a film that was, a big success,
Yeah.
you have more chance to meet people, that 100 people that saw the film, than the 10 that love you in a film that, will make the much smaller results.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's quite fair. It's normal, And also because in those films, the actors get parts that are much more interesting, personally interesting, Like, for example, I could tell you that Tristana is really a part that I loved. I did with Deneuve
Right.
2 years later, but Tristana is a wonderful film. But because of the subject, which is not the same thing at all, it never got the audience of Belle de Jour.
Yeah. How about Repulsion?
Repulsion is different because Repulsion is a sort of, I'm playing a sort of schizophrenic girl, and there are murder scenes. So the film got the attraction of both public, both audience. It's a little different. I mean, I like the part, in the film, but it could also be seen by another type of audience, the film.
Is Polanski a good director?
Very good director.
What makes him good?
The result.
The result, yeah. But is he
The
good
result.
with actresses? Is he good with actors? Is he...
When I worked with him, I
Because he's
thought
a
it was
former
wonderful.
actor.
Yes. Roman, is a Polish director that was formed to one of the best schools in Europe.
Yeah.
And that's a Polish school, for cinema. And he knows everything about everything. It can be very irritating, I suppose, sometimes, for the people or the producer or the cameraman or the stuntman, because he knows everything. But acting, sound, light, set, everything.
Yeah, let me take another look before we get too far. Belle de Jour, this is a scene in which you say, "I'm glad I stayed." Set it up for me. This is...
That's I'm going to have an affair, because it becomes an affair, in the film. A man that is going to become a client, becomes fond of me, and it's evident that I'm responding to him. So all of a sudden, my life is changing.
This is more than work.
This is much more than work. And at the first thing, this man doesn't want to stay with me because I have a mole in my back, and he said, "Get dressed again, I don't want to see you." Then I go out and I come back, and instead of getting dressed himself and leave, he's in the room waiting for me on the bed.
Roll tape. Here it is.
Toi aussi, tu me plais, Marcel. Tu reviendras?
Peut-être.
Tu n'as pas d'argent.
De l'argent. C'est pas ça qui me manque.
Tu me fais peur.
Talk to me about beauty and being beautiful. Has it made life easier? Do you look at yourself and say, and feel, in a sense, what everybody else sees in you?
Well, it makes life easier, and that's even dangerous, because it's true that even if today, you want in cinema and films, mostly you can see the difference with 25 years ago, where being beautiful was really something very much necessary, to be a young actress. After that, you were allowed to have character when you were older. But today, people wants people with more interesting faces, that are really beautiful in the classic sense of being beautiful.
Yes.
But being beautiful, helps to open doors in life in general. People will smile more easily or will open the door, it's true that it helps. So it's dangerous, very dangerous.
When
you take advantage, sometimes of it.
People do what?
I mean, being good looking sometimes without even knowing, you can take advantage of the situation.
It gives you an extra leverage.
Yeah, because you charm people, even sometimes without realizing you're charming people. But it's true that it's sort of people are nicer to you, and it's not always for who you are.
It's not for who you are, but because of their perception of what you look like.
Yes, but frankly, it's been more a help than a boredom,
Yeah. But when you look at yourself, you like what you see. You like the way you look.
Well, sometimes, but frankly, seeing myself every day before or after, doing my makeup or going to, even if I don't go to work, no, I cannot tell like the result every day. I've been living with myself for such a long time, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, but also I'm used to it. I'm no I'm no magic to myself, you know. I don't look at myself being a. Sometimes I can see a still pictures, you know, say, oh, that's a nice picture, and look really, really good on that photo. But frankly, I'm from a family of girls and good-looking girls in my family, and my parents never, especially my mother, wouldn't allow people, you know, to say that looks was important. You know, she said that's not a good thing to say to young girls.
The death of your sister, the worst thing ever happened to you?
Probably the first worst thing, yes.
Yeah.
The first one. Yes.
She wanted to be an actress more than you did.
Of course, yes. She was an actress. I just, you know, went on a side when she asked me to test for a film during the summer where they needed a young girl to play her sister. That's how it started.
Yeah, and you acted
But she was
together.
an actress. She was working at the conservatory, and she was on stage already.
Yeah. She was killed about the time of the release of this film, was she?
No, it was, yes, about the release, yes. Because she was with me at the opening in Paris of Belle de Joie, I remember very well.
Yeah. What would you have done if you weren't an actress, if you hadn't gone into, because your parents were stage actors?
My parents were stage actors, yes,
Yeah.
both.
Did they want both you and your sister? You were one of 4 children, yes?
Yes, we were 4 children, but
and
my sister, you know, was the one who was really supposed to be an actress, and I was quite young, and I didn't really think, you know, about being an actress at that time. I don't know what I would have done. I don't know. Maybe just married, have children, divorced, and then to work in something. I don't know. Or maybe, don't know, painting. I love painting. And
Do you paint?
I don't paint.
Yes,
But when I
you
was
know.
at school, you know, that's something I was good at drawing, you know. And I don't know, maybe something related to that, you know, I don't know. Not become a painter, but something related to the graphic arts.
Your children are in the theater?
Yes,
Yeah.
actually my son is in the theater, actually, and they are both, you know, actors, and my daughter, you know, is in films as well, yes.
What do you do when you don't work? What are your passions?
I think I work more, you know, when I say sometimes, you know, shooting is a wonderful thing because you are not there, you're not taking the phone, you come back late at night, so you can really work, and
When
that's
you're
all
on
you
location.
do. Or even in Paris, because
Yeah.
I come back late. But when you're not supposed to be shooting a film, there are so many things a woman, you know, is supposed to do, even more than when she's working. So I do things that I have no time to do while I'm working, and I do for my pleasure. I'm very interested in gardening. I mean, not only gardening, you know, putting my hands in the soil, but about plants and botanic. I'm very interested in gardens and trees even more than flowers.
The interesting thing about you in America, I mean, for film, people who love film, they know about your career, but they also probably know you as much for commercials and advertisements
Yes, that's
as
true.
they do as an actress.
And I think
It's
the
the
fact,
face
you know,
and the image.
people say that I was, you know, a sort of symbol for a French woman. It's because I did, you know, this campaign for Chanel a long time ago. And still today, you know, I stopped doing Chanel 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And some people say, are you still doing something with Chanel? You know, remember that beautiful ad? And in the mind of the people, it's timeless. It's very strange. But my image then as an actress was a little confused because people knew me more for commercial than films when I did Chanel 20 years ago.
What does it mean to you to be French? I mean, to be French means what to you?
I don't know, because, you know, I'm French, and not being American, I cannot say what it would be like. You know, I could answer that question if I knew what it was like to be American. But I suppose in the mind, what I can read, you know, from what people ask me, you know, about being French, I suppose it means, you know, to be quite light on certain things, and having to have a good time and working at the same time and trying to manage everything without always, you know, thinking of the career.
I read once that you said a lot of interesting things. One of them you said was that most of my passions are known and my obsessions are private.
Well, I think it's like Belle de Jour in a way, you know, that you need to keep something for yourself. And it's true, I'm not going to discuss with the public that just see me and I don't know. I'm not going to say only maybe eye to someone, talk about private things that are very deeply involved with myself personally.
Who you are and how you define yourself. And
Well,
you know, what's
yes.
the difference in an obsession and a passion?
Well, it's two different things. I mean, a passion can be something that makes you very happy, you know, to the point that it's something very fulfilling. An obsession can destroy you.
And do you have obsessions?
I said so.
But I'm unlikely to find out.
You might find out, but I say sometimes if, you know, some journalists were very, I don't know, I'm sure through your work, you know, the films you do, the work you've been doing, and the things you've been involved with, you know, people would know, could know and say much more about you.
Of all the characters, which are you closest to? Which do you think more reflects You know, your sensuality, your eroticism, your intelligence, your passions, your sense of self-image.
I say it would be like the woman maybe in the last Metro.
In Last Metro.
In Last Metro.
Because?
Because of the responsibilities, the work, being involved personally, having troubles to manage everything, still trying to help people in very bad situations and very dangerous situations. It would be between that and a film that I don't think came out here, a comedy I did with Yves Montand called Le Sauvage,
yes.
where I was playing a very nice woman, really a bore and irritating, you know, and trying always to get things from people in a nice way, but terrible way. What we call we say a bitch in French, but it's nice. I don't know the
bitch
word in English.
Bitch doesn't mean the same thing here, yes.
No, I mean something, you know, a woman who is very nice, but she's really a pain on when she wants something, you know, to everybody. But she managed, you know, to get what she wants.
So on the one hand, the Last Metro, so part of you is this...
Part of me is light, part of me is darker, you know. Part of me is serious, and part of me is much open, you know.
But it doesn't, I can't see darkness in you. I mean, that you seem to be so...
Because I'm blonde. Because I seem to be very sort of at my ease talking all
exactly,
that.
exactly, without sense of...
Well, I suppose because the dark side, you know, it's something more private maybe, and something that if you knew me personally, you know, in life, that you would know more about. But it's true that when you come, you know, on stage or you come on a set, you know, just the fact you are put on light, you know, gives you another attitude. It's different. But I think certain things maybe you haven't seen, you could have seen the darker side of me. Closer to myself, maybe.
Tough. Difficult.
Tough, not so much tough than darker, you know.
Darker in how?
In the sense of being, you know, not as, you know, not as happy as I seem to be, maybe not as a little more melancholic, you know.
Melancholic? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Over what? Melancholic about life?
No, it's a question. I was always a little melancholic, and people who know how to say things, you know, from face, say that my face sometimes seems to be smiling, but not my eyes. Never my eyes. That's what I've been told, and I think it's quite true.
That your eyes don't smile?
No. That might be true.
Yeah. But you're happy most of the time? No,
I wouldn't say I'm happy.
You're not?
No, I'm not unhappy, but I wouldn't say I'm a happy person because, you know, being, you know, today the place I am, being, you know, that age at today, in today's time, it's being happy is something that I wouldn't think of. I mean, it's not part of my life.
Okay,
I don't feel.
Here's what I would say. You would, let's take you.
You are going to say it, but I'm not going to say it if I don't feel
but
like
take me with this. I would think that you would be hugely in love with life.
Yeah, that's true. I'm very passionate
You've
by
had
life.
great romances in your life.
Yes.
You've had an opportunity to have a craft and to continue to grow in that craft.
Oh, but I agree with you completely.
You
I
have
have all
wonderful children.
reasons
You
to
live
be
in one of the
happy.
great cities. You are, in a sense, a symbol of your country and what it's...
But that's not enough to be happy.
What else do you need?
I'm not unsatisfied.
Okay.
But I cannot be a happy person in the world we are in today. That's all.
Because of the suffering and because
of
some sense
not
of
the
the
suffering,
pain.
but because my reality and the what I see, you know, with my eyes every day. I mean, it's something that cannot. If I was living on an island, you know, maybe I would be happy with all what I've done. But I'm living in cities with people around me.
You see human suffering.
It's not suffering so much than I see the hard side of everything. You know, I've got very good eyes. I mean, you know, I see everything, and sometimes I even see things I shouldn't be seeing, you know. But I'm just a human being on that side. I'm sensitive like a human being, you know. I'm not just a happy actress. I'm a human being, and I feel a lot for a lot of things that I don't live.
But what do you mean though? Is it suffering? Is it?
It's involved with a hardness,
that life
harshness.
is tough and painful and hard for people to make a go of it in many cases.
Not so much that, but you know, everything that happens today, you know, everywhere, are things that of course disturb me. You know, Yugoslavia, where I live in Europe, it's something you can see.
The children suffering in the Bosnia and the cruelty of that war.
Not so much the children, the situation of seeing, you know, people. I mean, it's in Russia, everywhere you have reasons, you know, not to be unhappy. But reasons important enough not to be completely happy. But I have very happy moments in days because I'm a very passionate person in life. That's true.
Yeah. When you think of you in terms of, do you act as much as you want to? In other words, would you work harder if you had an opportunity, or do you work exactly? Do you find the right balance between work and the rest of your life?
I can choose my work, you know, and what I want to do, but I don't choose the timing in the sense that if I don't like, something that I might do because, it's been, 8 months or a year I didn't work. I'm not going to do it just to do it. But I could really make a film and a half a year. I mean, let's say 3 films in 2 years to be happy. Sometimes I don't really do it because I don't find, what's right enough, in my opinion, for me. But also, I think that we have so many films on television, in France, that if people see you that much, and they see me a lot on French television, that I don't see how they could go, outside and see me on screen if they see me at home all the time. So I try to be there, but not all the time. I do very little things on television in France, I don't appear on television much, very little.
Do you like interviews or dislike them? Is this painful for you, or this kind of conversation?
I prefer, in a way, the interview where you're there, radio and television, because at least you're there, you say what you want, you do your own mistakes. The problem with the written press, for actresses, it's not always very serious. And an interview, if you don't have the tone of the voice, the tonic accent on things, and the graphic, I mean, everything that goes with the voice that changed, the meaning of a word can be changed just by the level of your voice. So I miss that when I read interviews, not only with me, with people I know.
What do you want to do? What's most important for you now as you look forward to the future?
It's to agree deeply with what I'm doing. If I do accept those things and I don't like them, it disturbs me a lot. Yeah. I have to be really in harmony with what I say and what I do.
Are you mostly in harmony with what you say and do?
Let's say I try enough to be satisfied on that level most of the time, yes. Yeah. It doesn't mean it's the right thing. It's just my deep feeling about what I think I should be doing, as far as I'm concerned, in my head.
There's much to talk about. We're out of time. I thank you for coming. Yes, we'll do another program.
In 10 years' time or in 5 years' time?
Well, I hope less time than that.
So do I.
I know you've got a film with John Malkovich coming out also at some point called Convent.
Yeah. Yes, it's going to be at the New York Film Festival in the autumn.
In October? Yes. And you'll be back for that?
Probably. Well, too soon to see you, maybe again.
Well, no. I think that would be wonderful. There is much to talk about, and I thank you for sharing this time with us very much. It's a pleasure for the audience, and I'm sure for me. Belle de Jour will be re-released, seen in New York and Los Angeles, and later seen across the country. Catherine Deneuve.